Now, Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles presents to you Nicholas London and Cueball Carmichael.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles. I am Nick, but of course, the man with all the power, the man that puts this whole, well, that's me, but the man who is legendary, he is an icon, one of the, well, that's me too. He is the host of the show. He is the man of the hour, the man with the power, Cueball Carmichael. Q, how are you today, my friend?
Brother, never better. Fantastic day. It's Tuesday again, and we are ready to rock and roll, brother.
You know,
rock and roll here.
What a night we have.
My camera adjusted.
Hey, it's okay. What a night we have, because not only are we talking game changers and you know, some of the most creative minds in professional wrestling, but it's also our first show on Facebook Live. And for a lot of listeners that don't know this, we are actually live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Atlantic, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Pacific, just saying, on YouTube, live shows with myself and the host, Cueball Carmichael, talking all things professional wrestling. So, Q, I got to ask you, man, right after the shoot, what's it like being on Facebook Live, something a little different tonight?
Well, it is different, you know, and we've never done it before. And I think what it's going to do is expose people to the fact that we actually have a YouTube show every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, TripleTRadio, Turnbuckles, Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles. And
easy for you,
know,
to
maybe
say.
It lets some people know that didn't know that we're TripleTRadio live on YouTube. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. And, of course, you guys can fly right over to TripleTRadio.com. Check out all sorts of cool stuff there. The one thing about Cueball and myself is that we're very interactive with you guys. Obviously, we have Facebook. You can go to our page, Triple T Radio. So we try to interact with you guys as much as we can. But I can't say this enough, that this show tonight could be, and very well is, a one-off. Our shows are on YouTube. This is to let you guys know that you can be listening live on YouTube every Tuesday night. And occasionally we have a guest in. And sometimes Q and I like to kick it and talk business.
and just talk, you know, we kind of off the cuff a lot of times, just talk the wrestling business. And I think those are some of our best shows. And, you know, there's a topic. It's always pro wrestling. So there's a lot to work with in the history of the business. We've covered the NWA in a multi-part series, which is up there. We've covered, you know, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair. We've covered a lot of great people. We've had some great guests. We've had Jack Ward, Southern Legacy Wrestling. We've had my buddy Matt Griffin, who used to wrestle as JC North. We had Luke Hawks on the show. I mean, we've had a lot of great guys on the show. And there's a lot more great guests to come. But it's exciting, man. It's exciting to be on Facebook Live. And it's something we've never done. So, you know, I'm excited about it.
So am I. You know, and one of the things that I'm really high on, and I know I've said this to you in the past, is awareness of the product. I mean, we are capable of bringing you guys so much content, and we upload consistently. We're always doing something. All of our sponsors, right on TripleTRadio.com, we encourage you guys to check them out. Cueball Carmichael himself is a sponsor on this show. And obviously, Q, I know you took it today. You're a little smarter up here. You're a little quicker on the draw. You're taking that brainstorm.
I'm telling you, it works. We finally got our partner from Truth Busters, which you do on Sunday night, Johnny Stewart, illustrious Johnny Stewart of AWA fame. He started on Brainstorm. I've been on it for about 5 or 6 months. Fantastic product. You can find it. I put it up on Facebook all the time. I urge, anybody who's been in the wrestling business for, 300 or 400 matches, we hit our heads a lot. We get a lot of concussions, and later in life, it starts to affect us. Our memory isn't as sharp as it was. Our recall isn't as sharp. We don't sleep as well. There's a little more depression, a little more anxiety. And this all-natural product, Brainstorm, actually has 41 different ingredients in there that, like I said, are all natural, that will help with all those symptoms of the aging wrestler. And you noticed when I started taking it about a month into the show, after I took it for about 30 days, you noticed a huge difference in me in the show as far as recall, being faster and quicker on the draw. And I really couldn't imagine not having that product. I just, I order 10 at a time just for me. Go through 10 months of it, order 10 more. So I've fully stocked the warehouse. There's plenty in stock, and there's another 300 ready to go from the supplier, which is all made, manufactured, distributed, bottled in the good old US of A.
And you know what? I'll encourage anyone that you might be a little slower on the draw. You know what? Maybe you and the wife got into a big fight. I can see it. We get hung. Not good. When the wife gets angry, if you remember the Brainstorm, you'll remember what you fought about. You can fix the situation immediately. Q, you still selling that pillow? That's still saving people's lives,
Well, we have to restock. We're down to about 4 of them right now. So we're waiting for the manufacturer to get them to us. Hopefully they come in any day. It's really been a struggle to restock that pillow. And we were selling over 100 a month. People loved it. Great reviews. There's still a few available. So if you go to the TripleTRadio landing page that we have for you, you'll see the pillow. You'll see the Brainstorm. But you'll see a lot of other people that sponsor us, like Hertz, KitchenAid, Staples and Office Max. I mean, it's crazy how many people actually sponsor us.
We're
excited.
Fortunate that way. But you know what? It's time to get down to a little bit of business. We're talking creative, and we're talking game changers, Q. And now you know as well as I do, in the world of professional wrestling, creative minds are a must and a need. And if you don't got it, you ain't going to last long in this business.
That's a fact.
Now, you think about it. How many great minds? I mean, we're going to talk tonight Dusty Rhodes. We're going to talk Eddie Gilbert. We're going to talk Vince McMahon, Vince Russo. How about Pat Patterson? So many big names. Some people like to say the Young Bucks. Maybe that's today's generation. Cody Rhodes. We can go back. Triple H, Shawn Michaels. We can keep going. Scott Hall. So many
Jerry
names
Lawler
have come through. Jake the Snake Roberts. We're going to talk them tonight.
Jerry the King Lawler, Mick Foley. I mean, there's a lot of great minds. Paul Heyman. There's just so many great minds out there in the business. It's probably more than a one-show event. We're probably going to have to do a 2 or 3 part series on the greatest minds in wrestling.
I mean, why not? I mean, really, it's a great topic. Paul Heyman alone, we could do 15 episodes on. I mean, the guy took this small little company and went national, had one of the biggest fan bases. He had it all. And, of course, Vince McMahon.
They were the most rabid fans I ever saw. I went on the ECW train for 6 months back in 99. And let me tell you something. The fans at the ECW arena, the old bingo hall, they were rabid fans. It was crazy. The intensity in the sold out ECW show from the ECW arena was something special. You had to be there. Whether you were a fan or one of the boys in the back, man, I'm telling you, it was incredible.
I mean, the thing is, ECW was such a... I mean, some people would call it a problem child. You know what I mean? Because, they broke a lot of rules. They did a lot of things that we just didn't do. But...
It's a true story.
TNN knew what they were doing when they signed them. They knew they were a big deal, which ultimately they were a huge deal. I mean, you were there in 99. Is that right? Did I read that right, 99? Yeah. So it was hot. And, I mean, you know as well as I do, Rob Van Dam, all those names were so big. And it's just, it's grown and grown and grown. And it's wonderful. And yeah, they're out of business now. But what are we doing right now? We're still talking about the impact that they had on the industry. Q, how's that gum?
Fantastic. Mouth's a little dry. Nick caught me in the middle of a workout and said, "Hey, let's do the show now." And I'm like wiping sweat off and trying to drink water and chew gum and keep my mouth moist so I can talk in a normal voice. I got my giant supply of water.
I got mine too.
It's good. It's good, man. Yeah, the thing about ECW was this, and this is what I hate when people say it was an issue and it caused a lot of problems. First off, all those guys, Axel Rotten, good friend of mine, passed away as we know.
Yes.
Balls Mahoney, same thing. But if you look at Rob Van Dam, you look at Sabu, you look at Shane Douglas, you look at Tommy Dreamer, all those guys could work. They could wrestle their butt off. I mean, they were great. It just so happened that when they started doing a little bit of hardcore, the intensity level in that building and people that saw that was so strong that they wanted more. And what Heyman did is he gave them more. Inch by inch, show by show, he gave them more. And the boys were willing to do it. The boys were willing to not really go in the standard mold of a face versus a heel. They would go out there and they would do hardcore matches. But if you look at those matches, they still used psychology and wrestling intensity, and they told long-term storylines. It really, in my opinion, it was the promotion that created the most stir of any promotion that was a startup that I've ever seen. Immediately it created a presence. Smoky Mountain was out of business. A lot of guys were available. A lot of guys went there. The Axel Rotten, Ian Rotten feud was Pro Wrestling Illustrated's feud of the year. That gave a lot of publicity to ECW. It was just crazy, man. It was crazy intense. And anybody that's ever been to a show at ECW knows what I'm talking about. Any of the boys that are listening that work there, they know what I'm talking about. The intensity level in that building was just electric. And you could feel the electricity. It was so strong. I've only felt that one other time in my life, and that's when we did, and you remember because you pushed it on your former show, Rope to Rope, was Chinlock for Chuck.
Yes.
Where we had all the boys come in for Chuck. The intensity in that building was the same as it was in the ECW arena in a different way. The intensity there was a benefit for our buddy who's going through cancer for the second time, still today cancer-free, doing well, Chuck Coates. So it was a different type of intensity, but the intensity and electricity that you felt was equal to the ECW show. And the fans, before the show started, that they would do something really crazy. They would let the building fill up early. People would line up because it would sell out. And by the time those people waited and somebody first hit the ring, there was this tremendous buildup of, what's the word I want to use for it? This intense buildup of emotion waiting for this to start. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They always had a Who Shot JR moment at the end of the show. They always left you on a cliffhanger. You always wanted to come back and see it. And it was really something special. A lot of people might disagree with me, but the people that disagree with me were not in the building or were not one of the guys working there, and we're not one of the fans.
No, and the thing is, you bring up a really good point when you said about the other show that you remember where the fans were just ballistic and the excitement was the Chinlock for Chuck. Let me just sidebar for just a moment to say that was a lot of fun to cover. I think that was one of our earlier interactions. And also something, I know Malcolm, and I can speak for him too on this. That was a real honor to cover that show because of what it meant to you, to the boys in the back, to the boys that came on the show to promote it with us. And that, you know what I mean? Like, that was a big deal. And a lot of fun there. A lot of memories in that. And I know that it was a success, but it was a memory that not only, does Chuck remember forever, but the fans take that home and they remember that for years to come.
Yeah, there was a lot of special moments. It was Wise Guy Jimmy Cicero and I teamed up like we had in the old times. We wrestled Christy New York, who we trained, and Pat Cusick, who I won the NWA Worldwide Wrestling Tag Team titles with twice in this past decade. And so it was a really good time. We had Baby Doll managed Christy New York, and Pat Cusick, and Evil Count Grog from Gouge Wrestling and Old Southern Championship Wrestling managed us. And it was just a really good time. I remember you could hear a pin drop, and I turned, before we started, it was quiet. I turned, I looked at Chuck in the front row, and I looked over at Baby Doll and those guys, and I looked at him and I said, "Coates, I know you had something to do with this." And as soon as I bitched him out with those little words, the crowd went ballistic.
Oh, yeah.
Chuck said it was the greatest heel move he'd ever seen, using the least to get the most. So I was pretty honored by that. But yeah, after that, the heat was on, man. It was fun.
That was cool. Cool thing.
And James, at the end, before we started the show, James Storm, who was the TNA heavyweight champion at the time, or Impact, or whatever it was called then, he called, and he said, "Shane, look, I'll fly myself in on my own dime if you let me be part of the show." So James Storm came in. Of course, Jeff and Matt Hardy were there, and Jeff and Matt Hardy went out in the lobby, and they must have signed 1,000 autographs. They didn't turn anybody away for 3.5 hours after the show. It was crazy.
Of course, number one, it was crazy. Anytime that you're able to get all these guys together, it's a wonderful evening. It's a wonderful event. It's not just you, but it's the fans. And the fans are what really get to take this all home. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Paul E., because that's kind of where we started it. I don't know how it started there, but that's where we started. So what I want to do is talk to you a bit about being creative and, how much stress is behind not just the owner, but in his case, he was the owner. He was the judge, jury, and executioner. It wasn't like he had a million guys working with him, which we'll get into that throughout this show or the next show. But what do you suppose the pressure behind a guy like Paul Heyman is?
I would think that if he had continued to run ECW for 5 more years, he probably would have developed a very serious heart problem. I think he got out when he knew that his health was at risk, worrying about paying the boys and doing some things that a lot of people wouldn't approve of to get the money to pay the boys. Paulie's great wrestling mind, but he's definitely part carny and part con man too. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
He is.
But that's right.
He exemplifies carny.
He is definitely. The
pressure was enormous, though. I saw it on his face. I mean, it was incredible. And the first pay-per-view they did with Terry Funk, the pressure on him was so intense. I don't even know how he stood it without having his head explode. I mean, it was their first pay-per-view. It was a big deal. It didn't put him on the map just regionally, but it put him on the map nationally and internationally. And that is a lot of pressure to get that thing to come off and convey in one show what you've been doing for 2.5 years at that point, or 3, what you've been busting your butt to do, beg, borrow, and steal to keep and I don't mean that literally, but as a figurative term.
But he was pretty slippery.
Beg, borrow, and steal to keep the promotion going, doing promos in your mom's basement, doing them wherever you could, setting up the ECW board behind you. I mean, it was just really, really intense. And I know Paul and Joey Styles and a lot of them, Tommy Dreamer, a lot of those guys, Shane, they all felt that same pressure. You know, it was intense. I mean, it was tough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wouldn't want the job. I'll pass. I think I would. You know what? And I'll say this. I really believe that I can be creative, but I think I would have made a better finished person, which we'll discuss the definition to what I'm saying.
Right.
In fact, we'll go right into it. Q, when I'm saying about being a finished person, what am I saying?
You're going to be the guy who decides the finishes of the matches, I would assume.
No, that's exactly right. That's it. And
no,
you know,
I know. I shouldn't say assume. That's what you're going to be.
Well, no, but you're in the business and you get it. You know. Q, what would you say to somebody if they came to you and said, "Hey, Q, this is how we're going to finish this match." Let's just say it's the craps, and what is something you try to convey to somebody when they're coming up with a finish to a match?
Well, first off, let the people know that you can look up the Independent Professional Wrestling Alliance on Wikipedia. There's a massive page. My promotion ran for 6.5 years. We had shows in 7 different states. Our home base was the Secret Cove Arena. It was held 500 people. We sold it out every 6 weeks for 5 years. We drew over 700 at a high school. We drew 1,595 paid at Fairfax High School, our very first show. Had Adam Bomb, Brian Clark on the show from the WWE, the main event. So I ran those shows, and I know that pressure. And the pressure, you really feel the pressure, not so much on a spot show, but when I was running the same building every 6 weeks for 5 years, and I would go around and get everybody's finish because I didn't want any duplicate finishes. I didn't want anything the same. And when we started to tell a story, Tom Brandy and Jimmy Cicero were my co-mind mentors. They worked with me. We worked together to decide what the finishes were going to be, where we wanted to be in 6 months, where we wanted to be in a year, who we had to have the title. And in the IPWA, Tom Brandy held the heavyweight championship 4 times, or 3 times, and I held it 4. And the only reason I ever put the title on myself was as I was a babyface there. I was a transition champion. When I had a heel, like Tom was the champ, but he got signed by Vince. We knew he was leaving to do Salvatore Sincere. So he ended up dropping the title to me. And I held the title for less than 2 months and dropped it to a heel. But the one thing I knew is I was the guy that was going to show up at every single show.
Yeah.
So when I had a heel, and I was talking to Steve Carino the other day for over 2 hours, and Steve sent me a bag of his coffee from the Squared Circle Cafe, and he bought a couple Brainstorm from me. And Steve started his career working with me. His very first match, he managed Iron Sheik against me. But he told me, he goes, if you hadn't given me that chance 24 years ago, I wouldn't be where I am today. Anywhere in the world he is, if I text him within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I get a text back, no matter what. Steve and I remain close. He started his career there. He was a great mind from the beginning. He listened in to Tom and me and Cicero. He was a human sponge. But, we had guys come through there like King Kong Bundy, the Iron Sheik, Buddy Landell, Brutus Beefcake, Jim Neidhart, Bam Bam Bigelow. We had big names come through, and we would listen to them too. But we would always collectively decide the finish. And one of the things I always like to do, say the first match finishes simply with Schoolboy, right?
Yeah.
The second match finishes with, a roll-up or something simple or another simple finish. What I would tell the boys is, look, we had a Schoolboy finish and we had a roll-up. Use those for your false finishes because people are going to buy that that's actually the finish because they've already seen a match be finished with that move.
Yeah.
So that's now a false finish for the rest of the boys. And my advice to everybody when they went to shows was watch the first 2 matches.
get the finish. If they're simple the way they should, do one of those in your match, and that'll actually become a false finish because somebody was finished with it earlier in the show. So there's a lot of pressure to make sure that everybody's finish is unique and different, but also that finish is connected to the start of the match, and that finish is going to lead to something else in 6 weeks in that same building. Nothing is for nothing. There's a purpose for the first step through the curtain to the final step back through the curtain. And there's a lot of pressure in doing that on a regular basis in the same building and trying to keep the fan base and add to it. I remember the guy that owned it, it was a bar, but in our building, he had built it out as 4,000 square feet, held about 420, 430, and then he would put it on closed circuit TV in the bar for people. So he would come up to me maybe 20 minutes before showtime because they were sold out. When I wrestled the Iron Sheik in the very first show, we turned away over 200 people at the door.
Wow.
Because we were in a smaller part of the building. We only seated 265 fire code, and we had about 275 in there. And it was so successful that the guy on the other side, the same guy that owned a building attached to that was completely empty, cleared out all the junk. We built a ring in there. And I ran my wrestling school out of there because we closed the doors far, nobody can see it. And we opened the doors, and we charged $20 admission. And I had to deal with the owner that I got all the gate, and he got all the bar business. Ironically, when he ran boxing there, the average person spent $4. When he ran a wrestling show there, the average person spent, besides admission, $28. So it was nothing but money for him. 500 people spend $28 on an average. So I was able to take that gate money, pay the boys very well, Tom Brandy, Glenn Osborne, the Headbangers, Glenn and Chaz. All those guys will tell you that I paid everybody with their envelope the second they walked in the door they were paid, before they ever got dressed. And that makes a big difference because when you do that to a guy that's wrestling on the independent scene, he appreciates that because typically you've got to wait around afterwards for the guy to hope he had enough at the gate to pay the boys. All my money was in an envelope before the show started. I know Matt Griffin, who runs this promotion in Georgia, he does the same thing. And it's for a wrestler all the time and has to go through the bullshit waiting to get paid. When he walks in and gets his envelope with his money in, he opens it, it's all there in green. For some reason, they seem to become a lot more loyal to you, and they'll do a lot more for you. Axel Rotten would call Paul and ask him, hey, do you mind if I skip the show Saturday night? I work for Cueball. And Paul said, is he paying you more? And he said, yeah. And so Axel would go and work for me. It was only 50 miles from Baltimore instead of driving all the way to Philly working for Paul at the arena. This is way after the feud, and he became, a replaceable part at that point. But he would rather work for me, a little bit more money, but creative freedom. I gave all the guys creative freedom within a certain reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I needed to know what the finish was, what they were going to do in the match, what story they were trying to sell, and if we can connect that to something else down the road. So there's so much going on. There's so many moving parts. There's so much pressure. Anybody that promotes Jack Ward, any of the guys listening, Paul Eubanks, they know how difficult it is to promote in the same building every 4 to 6 to 8 weeks for years. It's extremely difficult. You have to be very creative, and you have to have the who shot JR moment at the end of the show to get people pissed off enough or excited enough to want to come back in 6 weeks.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's very important. Otherwise, no one's coming. I mean, you know that. I know that. And you're right. I mean, look at the here, the NWE, up in Miramichi, New Brunswick. Man, there ain't much people going on up there, but they're there every 4 weeks. Not so much right now, but what I'm saying is that, they try to make everything as exciting as they can, hoping people come back, but it's a difficult decision because if I've seen the last 4, and I've got $10 to my name, and I know I can go out with a friend or I can go see a wrestling event. Well, if I feel, well, I've already, they're probably going to do the same thing they did last month, then I'm probably going to go out with my friend instead of going to that event. And that's the last thing you want. You want people feeling like if they miss one event, they've missed the whole year worth. Because now They don't know where we're at. You can't leave them.
And yeah, it's just like I said, and people have to understand that in the 80s, Dallas was the biggest show on TV, and somebody shot JR, and they let people hang all summer long from late May till September to actually find, and they made everybody sign a contract not to speak to anybody about it. And they made the world wait 3 months to find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that show, first episode of that season, was the largest watched evening television series in history. That should tell you something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to have that on every single show. That's the pressure.
Let's switch gears just a little. I want to throw a name at you that I did not say at all during the intro of this show, and I don't think neither of us have said his name throughout the show, Dutch Mantell. Some call him the most brilliant mind in the business. Where do you rank him and why?
I got to tell you, Dirty Dutch is definitely, he's in my top 5 for sure. Definitely in my top 5. I'm not going to put any of those top 5 as the single best. I'm just going to tell people my top 5 greatest minds, and they can debate whether that's true or not. But Dutch Mantell is definitely in there.
Yeah, he's in mine.
I mean, he is, his legacy is assured in the business. And, it's great when you have guys like Jim Cornette and Buddy Landell say, hey, Dutch Mantell, greatest mind in the wrestling business. That should tell people a lot. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
All right. Now we're going to kind of hit like the main event for this show. I feel it's going to be the main event. Is Vince Russo. And I'll set the backstory. And then I'll let you kind of chime in. And I'll step out a little and chime in as well. But he started out in the magazine, WWE magazine. We all remember. I don't know. I collected them. I love them. Of course, he wanted in the business, the Vince, if this is all you think I'm worth, then I should leave, and it needs to be raw, it needs attitude, whatever. Okay, we know what he did. The worst thing he ever did in my eyes is the brawl for all. He used these guys as personal dummies, and some of them got hurt real bad. And we'll talk about that, because some of his stuff was brilliant. But some of it was really pathetic and should never have happened. Where do you first put him on your map of great wrestlers or great minds and game changers? And should he get as much credit as he gets today?
Well, you can't argue that at the peak of the WWF, who was the guy behind it? Who was that guy? In the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Who was that guy?
Well, it's Vince Russo.
Yeah.
So, now, do you judge him on his entirety, or do you judge him on the segmentation of his entirety? That's the million-dollar question. To me, I got to say this. If you just judge him on what he did in the Attitude Era, he's in the top 5 too. If you judge him entirely on his ideas and you include the Brawl for All, which exposed a lot of guys, hurt those guys' careers, hurt the business, was the stupidest idea in the history of wrestling, in my opinion. I mean, some people may think it was great. I personally think it did a lot of damage to a lot of careers. I don't think that is a great mind, but you also had to run it by who before they did it?
Had to run it by the boss. Got to go by the big man.
And what did the boss do? The boss gave the green light, right?
Gave him the thumbs up.
So you also then have to look at Vince McMahon in his career as giving the green light to Vince Russo to do the Brawl for All. So,
but do you think Vince was freaking out because he was getting his butt kicked by WCW? Do you think Vince thought it through, or do you think he made a snap decision?
Snap decision.
Okay.
He had so many good ideas at that point that he thought he was spitting gold. And here's the problem. When you think you're spitting gold, you might spit out a nasty old rock that sinks. So, the thing is, you have to, I've always said this. Look, if you had 5 or 7 guys on a booking committee, you need an odd number so you never get a tie vote. So, you have 5 guys under the booking committee, and you run the idea by 5 guys. I'm going to say you run the idea by McMahon. You run it by Russo. You run it by a guy like Dusty Rhodes. You run it by a guy like Dutch Mantell. You run it by a guy like Jim Cornette. And you take those 5 guys' decision on whether to do it or not. And if you'd have done that, it definitely would have been a no. But when you're everything you touch, you have the Midas touch. Everything you're touching is turning to nothing but gold. I mean, the ratings are coming, the people are following. There's a mass exodus from WCW back to WWE. At that point, you think, wow, finally we're kicking their ass. I got a great idea. Well, maybe you should run it by more than one guy. The guy that is making all the money because of your ideas at that point, and is going to give you the green light anyway because he thinks that you're doing great. So I don't know. I always believed in a booking committee of 5 or 7. I think it would have been great. I think if they'd have run it by Pat Patterson would have said no. I really do. I don't think he had a lot of say in it at that point. So I don't know. By the Attitude Era, unbelievable. By the total, by the totality of the circumstances of his career, I put him okay. Maybe better than average, but because of that Brawl for All, I put him above average, but not great because of the Brawl for All idea.
Okay.
So I'd probably put him in the top 10, not top 5.
But then he boards the plane. He heads south down to Atlanta and gives $68 million to the bad. How was that possible? Why then the fail there? And also, with that said, why was his success level so much greater in the WWE? And I have a feeling you're going to say because of one man, Vince McMahon. But let's just work with me, brother. Work with me.
Well, look, the wrestling business, no matter what position you have, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're a booker, whether you're a writer, there's a shelf life to you at every company. There's an expiration date on you. The second you get there, there's an expiration date stamped on you just like a jug of milk. You just don't know what the expiration date is. Time will tell what it is. But you're going to be out of there. Unless you're a guy like McMahon who holds the key to the kingdom, no matter who you are, your time is limited. Whether you're Bruce Pritchard, whether you're Tom Pritchard, you're Jim Cornette, you got a shelf life when you go to WWE. If you can leave WWE and do better financially somewhere else, I say go for it. Because your career, no matter what you do in this business, is about that long.
Yeah.
Because it goes by. Listen, tomorrow, I'll be 60 years old. It's my birthday tomorrow.
I know.
I'll turn 60.
I got an airplane. I'm going to fly over your house. I rented it last week.
Last week I was 35 running 150 shows a night. I don't know what happened.
I blinked, and all of a sudden, I'm turning 60, man. Who would have figured, number one, I'd be alive right now. Number two, I'd have 2 successful YouTube channels. Who would have guessed it?
I would have.
Yeah, you would have.
I would have.
That's true. You would have.
I would have.
But you would have been too young when I was 35 to guess it.
Yes,
So.
This is true. But look at, you've had success. I mean, you've been to the attitude, you've been to the dance more than once. You've done the WWE. You were there only in the greatest, the Attitude Era. You've been to the ECW. I don't know if you went to WCW, but if you did, you probably don't want to talk about it, and I can't blame you. But if Vince Russo, and I want you to eliminate the term attitude when I say this, but if Vince Russo is going to be remembered for one thing, a creative mind or a game changer, which one do you think it'll be? And why?
I'd say a little bit of both, man. Definitely a game changer, and, as he proved, a creative mind. The problem is that, look, we all make mistakes. But when you make an error that's on international television and everybody sees it, and what you thought was a great idea turns out to be the worst idea you ever had, look, man, that's a tough position to be in. I don't care who you are. I feel for the guy. Seriously. I feel for Vince Russo because everything was golden, and he made one mistake that people are now going to say, I don't know how his career was because of that. Look, we all make mistakes. When you're on national TV, international television, it's magnified 1,000 times. So I put him in the top 10 of creative minds and game changers. I really do. And he's going to stay there,
I mean, he definitely changed the game.
Bad,
you're right.
Top 10's not bad.
He did change the game. I mean, let's call spade a spade here. Bret Hart in 95 winning that Ballot Survivor Series to losing to Shawn, to Shawn, losing his smile and everything in between, the ratings were just doing this. The whole way.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
And that's, and then they talk about, the episode of Raw, half of it aired in England, the other half aired in the U.S., and how that was the worst ratings in professional wrestling for Monday Night Raw, and that was, supposedly when Vince Russo walked into McMahon's office and said, this is garbage. It's the worst ratings and blah, blah, blah. Well, we can do better. Basically, here's the key to the kingdom. Let's see what you can do. Yeah, you're right. He was a game changer. Does he take too much credit for a lot of the things, though, that maybe maybe it'd be better if I just use pronouns on this one. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Montreal Screwjob. We've heard it a million times that Russo loves to take credit for it. It was his idea. The whole thing was all him. We've heard Jim Cornette's version. We've heard Bret, we've heard Shawn, we've heard, I think, all points in between. Does he take too much credit for stuff maybe that wasn't necessarily his idea, though? And I've heard Bruce Pritchard say a lot of things that are not his, like The Rock referring to himself in third person, that Russo took credit for was not his idea. Does he do that too much, do you think?
Oh, of course he does. But you got to understand, he needs to stay relevant. The only way to stay relevant is to create some type of controversy. So if you create controversy in the world, you stay relative, you stay current. And that's what he's doing. And, he's got to make a buck still and feed a family. So he takes credit for it. Look, at the end of the day, he's got to live with it. The business in its entirety is a work. He's just working the business, man. He's a worker. That's it. At the end of the day. So I know that he was not. I don't know. Nobody really knows but I'm pretty damn sure he was not the one who suggested the Montreal screw job. That was Vince all the way. And Sean knew it. Brett knew it because who did Brett punch in the face? He didn't punch Sean.
No, it's right.
He knew Sean was lying. Instead, he tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Great match." Sean thought he was getting his ass kicked. So let me tell you something. Bret Hart was a tough son of a bitch in the day. You know? And he went in and punched Vince. And, you know, he punched the guy responsible ultimately for the screw job. And I think he punched the right guy.
Yeah, I do too. Let me credit you on something as well right now. The Dark Side of the Ring. I finally sat down. I found them on YouTube. I've watched a couple. Man, I watched Owens and broke my heart. I haven't cried about it in a long time. Let me tell you, not good for any of us. I want to watch the Benoit one next. I know you and I talked yesterday, about Benoit thing, and I said,
before you watch Benoit, watch David Schultz.
David Schultz?
Watch that one first, because that one will leave you smiling at the end before you go into another morbid one.
Hey, listen.
He's still alive and still doing the deal.
I heard a thing not long ago from Stone Cold Steve Austin about, really David Schultz was kind of the first Steve Austin, but Senior didn't see the foresight that Junior did to do what he did for Steve. Would you agree to that? I mean, I only know from the interviews, but he looks like he looks like he was a badass. So you agree with
100%.
Okay, cool.
100%.
Yeah, he looks like he was a tough son of a bitch, man. He really does. I like David. I'd love to interview him. I'd love to get him on the show with us.
After wrestling, right?
Huh?
Do you know what he ended up doing after wrestling?
Well, I don't know. I'm assuming Tossel don't know.
Stossel don't know. He became one of the most respected and successful bounty hunters in the world.
I think I did know that because I listened to an interview with him once. So I think I do know that, but it was in the back. It's a long time, no brainstorm. I can't get to it. But I do think I should legit know that.
He was Dog the Bounty Hunter without the TV show.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? We should get him on this show. I can find him. I can reach out to him.
I sent him a friend request today, actually.
Good. Tell him to come on the show. We got to have him on the show.
He made a comment on a post, and I said, "That's David Schultz. I'm sending him a friend request." I don't know whether he's going to take it or not. He probably doesn't know me from a cheese sandwich, but,
Hey,
we'll see.
If these people, they add me and I've talked to them, they're going to add you. You're Cueball Carmichael. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer on an old show of mine, Rope to Rope. You're a legend. In my eyes, you are. What are you laughing for?
Yeah, let's not use that word. Thank you, but let's not use that word in the context of the other word, Cueball Carmichael.
Okay.
Let's just say I was a good journeyman. There you go.
You were a damn good journeyman. Yes, you were.
I'm okay with that at the end of the day.
You were a damn good journeyman, and you're still a great trainer. Someone that, people that they get the chance to pick your brain, as I do 7 days a week. And, for an hour on this show, I'm a very lucky person, let me tell you.
Well, here's an interesting fact for you that you don't know.
Oh, boy.
Is that I have a large steel building on my property that is going to hold a wrestling ring perfect.
I like it. I'm coming down to Cubes.
Yeah, boy. That's right, Jabroni.
Why, I will humble you. What is going on with Truth Busters, okay? Last Sunday night, you guys had your part 2 on aliens. This Sunday night, part 3. What is happening with that? What is the game plan?
Well, actually what it is it's ancient civilizations, sites that have been rediscovered by archaeologists that don't match up with things that could have been built of the people of that era, with the tools and the access to the things that they had. These things were built with great technology, which was not available 4,000 years ago. So what we propose is that they had some help. And the only help they could have had would have came from above. And back then, they chronicled everything they saw in one of two ways. Hieroglyph, three ways. Hieroglyph, petroglyph, or carving of some type. And the last one that we covered, Boo, has every face of every nationality and every civilization carved perfectly into anthracite, which is one of the hardest substances in the world to cut or carve. Supposedly in the era where all they had was copper, which is too soft to carve with. And they have two faces of what you would consider the gray alien face, the round head coming to a point, the eyes, no ears, little tiny mouth. Those are carved into those faces, along with even they even have a Sumerian face carved, which is one ocean and 8,000 miles away from there. Now they only carved what they saw. How are they going to carve in Bolivia? Okay, which is where this is. How are they going to carve faces from people from Africa, people from China, people from Samaria, people from American Indians? How are they going to carve those faces plus alien faces into stone if they haven't seen it 4,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago? They saw it, so they carved it, so there would be a living record of it. And this is not unique to that site. When we covered Göbekli Tepe the week before, same thing. The site we're going to cover in Luxor, Egypt, this coming Sunday night, the same thing. A stone that is so perfect, at 16 feet long and 100,000 pounds, that the tolerance from end to end is 2,000ths of an inch. That is typical of what you would put on a grinding table in today's world with a crane and running circular surface grinding wheel back and forth across this spraying lubricant so they get too hot for about 12 hours to get to that tolerance. Yet this was done 2,000 years ago. Technologically speaking, it's an impossibility. And all we're doing is asking people to watch these. And at the end of the 6-part series, based on additional information, perhaps you will change your mind to our mindset that these civilizations had help. And the only place that help to come from was from the sky.
Sounds exciting. I know nothing about it. I'm just the producer of the show. But it sounds exciting, and I'll be there live. Well, obviously. Live in the back screen, making sure they have a place to go. You know, this has been fun. The audience has been huge. This has been a success. Let me tell you.
Awesome.
This really has. I'm going to call you out a bit. But this show is a success.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody on Facebook taking a look and listening to us. And hopefully, we can get some more great minds, like Kevin Sullivan, great corporate, great mind, Dusty Rhodes, get a little bit more into guys like Mick Foley, who had great minds and great ideas.
Yes,
and, announcers that were great, like Gordon Soley had a great mind to get guys over.
Yes, he did.
Jim Ross. Hopefully, we can get into some of that stuff next week and talk more about it.
But we want you guys to know that TripleTRadio.com is the home of all things Triple T Radio. And, of course, the Mason Lee Productions Entertainment. We give you guys everything. We also have a landing page there. Go there for KitchenAid, for your brainstorm. We have so much stuff.
Everything.
Yes. Hertz Car Rentals, everything. We offer you guys so many sponsors. We are so proud to have you guys listening in on our show, tuning in on YouTube. Definitely. We're also on Spotify. We're also on iTunes. We're on Google
Podcast.
Yeah, all of our past shows are there. Check them out. We're live every Tuesday night. It's great. I mean, you can't beat it.
Yeah, you can just go to
Triple T Radio, one word, Triple T Radio, one word,
space live in your YouTube search bar. You'll find us, subscribe, hit like, And come sit with us every Tuesday night for an hour and check it out, see what we do. I think you'll enjoy it. Feel free to call in or leave a message and let us know what you want us to talk about. We're always open to it.
Absolutely. And guys, if you can't find it, that's okay. Just look up. There's TripleTRadio.com right there. And if you can't find us on YouTube, go up there to click there. And when you go to the site, there's a little YouTube logo. You can't miss it. We all know the logo. It's international. Click it. You're going right to Triple T Radio. And you guys are going to love it. Subscribe. Give us a follow. Like us. Whatever you got to do. Leave a comment. Tell Q to call you. And I'll make them. Well, if I can get
I'll call you. Look, I talked to a guy yesterday from Rhode Island called me. He's got a shot at wrestling Cody Rhodes for AEW. And he called me and he sent me his promo, and I went over his promo and gave him my stamp of approval. That's what they wanted, and hopefully he's going to get a shot down there. So, Steve Savage, good luck, buddy.
Hey, that's cool, man. Way to go. Yeah, good luck to him.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. Small package, old school. 1, 2, 3. Cody's going to be looking around going, what just happened on AEW?
Less is more.
That's right, my man.
Les Thatcher taught me that.
You're very right, though. Less is more, especially in the world of professional wrestling. So, Q, what do you say we wrap this thing up into a nice bow? We remind the fans that we're live every Tuesday night on YouTube. It's Triple T Radio. You can't miss it. 9 p.m. Atlantic, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Pacific. And after that, I don't know. But all that is all up to code.
Listen, Cueball Carmichael and Nick London want to thank everybody on Facebook who sat in for us, any comments that you made. And go over and check us out on YouTube. Hit like and hit subscribe. Check out the history of the NWA and all the other videos we have up there. And please join us live every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific time. Adjust it to your time zone. We appreciate it. Everybody, look, we love you. Triple T Radio, Daddy-O.
Now, Turnbuckle's Trunks and Titles presents to you Nicholas London and Cueball Carmichael.